So sneak preview for next week. We may be doing a birthday special for my birthday next week.
Yeah.
And so maybe listing some most memorable birthdays. And Yuna just asked me, what did you ask me, Yuna?
Ask you, what if you pick the same joyful birthday experience?
If we pick the same joyful birthday experience. Maybe forgetting that we don't have the same birthday.
Yeah, exactly. That's very funny.
Oh, you're so cute.
Yes, I am. And you know what? You agree with me. You said you can't, and that's okay. I will write down the experience first, and you said you can't do that.
You're right. Okay, I got called out. I got called out. You're right.
So you made the same mistake.
So we're both equally cute.
Exactly.
Okay. Hey, this is Matt.
And this is Yuna.
And this is Our Three Things, a podcast about joyful things. And we have a lot that we want to talk about this week. I have some things that I'm super excited to talk about that I've been waiting for weeks to talk about. And Yuna knows what they are, but we'll get to that in just a second. Before we jump in, I actually have kind of a fun thing to share. So we actually got a listener mail in.
Nice.
Through our Gmail. And you can also reach out to that at our3things.podcast@gmail.com just to ask us fun questions or share joyful things yourself. Or you can go to our website, our3things.com/contact. But we got one in this week. So this was from Kevin. And kind of the one funny thing about this
Do you know Kevin?
I do know Kevin.
You do know Kevin?
Well, I don't know if it's accurate to say that I still know him. It's someone that I knew in, middle school.
Middle school? Oh, yeah.
I'm actually, I'm really sorry, Kevin. I don't remember if we were in the same high school or not. So maybe you can let me know off the show. But I definitely know we were in the same middle school, and I think elementary school too, I want to say. Anyway, it was very, very good memory on my part. No, but it was cool because it's kind of a blast from the It was cool because it's kind of a blast from the past to see that pop up. So Kevin writes in, so just a very short little positive messages. So he says, "Keep up the great work. I really enjoyed listening to you guys, and it's almost like I'm in lockdown with you."
Oh, really? Wow.
I don't know how to feel about. I mean, I'm glad that you're enjoying listening to us, so thank you for that support. I don't want to make anyone else feel that they're in lockdown also, but I'm glad that you can relate at some level with what we're still going through. We are still in lockdown this week as well. Although we see a slight light at the end of the tunnel.
Yeah, and I think our freedom is around like 28th or 25th of October if we reach 70%.
Touch wood on that. So Kevin also has two interesting questions for us.
Oh, right.
So I wanted to answer those as well. So his first question, this is interesting. I haven't even thought about this, but what have you guys enjoyed most about listening to each other's three things? Do you want to take that first, Yuna?
Yes. What enjoying the most? Because it's just fun to see what sparks joy for your partner, and it's really interesting. Like we can have conversation from the things that they enjoy, and then you have a record of it when you listen back to it, right? And Matt knows this because whenever we finish the episode, I would listen back to our conversation and podcast, and I always laugh at exactly the same point as I laughed in the podcast, which is really interesting experience for me. And
you also really enjoy your own voice as well.
Yeah, I do.
Hopefully my voice is okay for you too.
Yeah, it is, of course.
So for me, this is maybe a slight peek behind the curtain of the show, but we've actually been doing the sharing of three things with each other for a long, long time before this podcast. It was something that Yuna had taught to me that she had learned from someone else.
Yeah.
And so I think my favorite thing about it, and it's always been the case, this is even before the show, is kind of like what you just said. Like we obviously spend heaps of time together because we're our partners, but it's
hope so.
Especially nowadays.
Yeah, 24/7.
24/7 basically. But even if all those times spent together, it's not very common to just talk about like what is causing you to feel joy at that moment.
Yeah.
So to me, it's like an exercise in sort of I guess you could call it like intentionality. So like,
Yeah, you intentionally have to list 3 things that you enjoy.
well, not just the listing, but also like hearing you do that kind of gives me perspective. Like, oh, like I actually didn't realize. Sometimes like it's something out of the blue. Like, oh, I just learned something else about Yuna.
Yeah,
But
great.
also sometimes it's like, oh, that gives me a lot of joy too, and then we can have a conversation about that.
Yeah, and also I think what we enjoy the most is I do think to have this podcast and ask each other 3 things, right, will make both of us to pause and to think about what sparks joy for the past week, which I think is important in nowadays because everyone's getting busy or getting drill down into some like your work or what's happening around the world. Sometimes you forget there's so many simple things that can just give you joy, and to hear Matt talking about the things makes him happy, makes me happy, and realize, oh, the life is very beautiful and we're so lucky to be alive.
That's true.
Yeah.
And also, I have a follow-up question for you, Yuna. I don't know if Kevin also intended to ask it this way, but I'm curious anyway. So, of all of my 3 things that I've said, what has been your favorite one of the?
Daniel.
Oh, that's an easy one. So, Yuna is referring to the single guy from Adelaide, Daniel Peachnik, which was back, I think episode 4 or 5, something like that.
Maybe you have 2, like Daniel and P-Mail. It's just so fun, so much fun.
Oh, the P-Mails.
Oh, and the rap as well.
Well, I have a follow-up on that. Just a second as well. I think my favorite of yours has probably been following along with your learning, which I think you have an update on that as well for us today. Because it's so cool to see like you develop these new skills and like grow confidence in a whole new area. And we talk about it most every day, even off the show. Yeah. But I just still think it's to me it's a joy to see you like learning and growing and something like that.
Sweet.
I can be sweet sometimes. So Kevin had a second question that I do want to get to.
Also, that's not the second question.
No, that was my question.
Oh, that's your question.
Yeah.
Okay.
That was sort of the sub question. So his second question, this is a bit shorter one. He asked, have you guys tried adding apples to your spring rolls? He said it's a
Oh, that's actually a really good idea. We should try that, because I tried to add the sweet pickle and the sweet radish. So I think apple could work as well. Great idea. Thank you,
because it's
Kevin.
kind of a similar thing. I actually asked him because he said it's something that his mom does, I think. And I asked him
sliced apple, right? Like slice like string.
Right. So what she says, what he said that his mom said is that any apple is fine. Using crispier apples generally has better results, and you soak them in salt water for 5 minutes to get them crispy and fresh.
Oh, nice.
And I would guess just like thinly sliced, probably.
Okay, let's try that.
Yeah. So thank you so much, Kevin, for reaching out, and for the food tip as well. We'll try that next time.
Yeah, I'm excited.
Okay. Well, I think that is a good time to transition into our things.
So I think this week is your turn, Matt. What's your number one thing that makes you happy this week?
Okay, so normally when we do a show, I think, I don't know if you do the same thing, Yuna, but when I am coming up with the things that have brought me joy this past week, one of them is sort of like the one that pops into my head first that I'm most excited to talk about above the other two. And I'll usually try to put that at the end of the show as sort of like a closer. But this one, I've been holding on to this for like, I think like 4 to 6 weeks or something, maybe even longer.
Yeah.
And the thing is the Netflix TV show, Terrace House, Boys and Girls in the City. So this is I'm going to give some context here.
Yeah, explain to everyone.
So basically, I think we've talked about reality shows a decent amount here. And most of the time we talk about them, I have to head over to our little trash corner, right? So we talk about like the Beverly Hills Housewives.
Yeah.
The Love is Blind. Are You the One? I think has been another one we talked about.
Yeah.
So this is a reality show that is, first of all, it's by far my number one reality show, just period.
It's number one?
Number one. Like it's not even close.
Out of all the shows.
Out of all the reality shows. And not only that, I'm still thinking about it because I actually just finished it this morning. It's a 46 episode show.
Oh, so you finished. So this morning you watched the ending of this reality show.
Of this one, yeah.
Don't spoil
and
anything.
I'll try not to give any spoilers. But I'll give some more context of how the show is set up and all that in a second.
Yeah.
But I was going to say, I just finished it, so I kind of need to think about it a bit. But I think it might actually sneak in to, if not top 5, at least top 10 TV shows I've watched.
Top 10 TV show?
I think so. It might sneak in like in that.
Just like TV, not including movies, right?
No. Movies
TVs
are a whole
and
other
stuff.
thing. I'm just TV shows. But still, I think that's
Really?
like
Top 10?
and
Reality show?
yes. And I say
Wow.
that specifically because it's easy to like throw aside a reality show as
Yeah.
just like pure trash. This show, and I'll go into more detail into why, but it gives me a feeling of such pure joy and relaxation and like just wanting to keep watching it and like feeling like a relationship that I formed with the show.
Why? So you don't feel like stress makes you feel relaxed.
It's the opposite.
There's
Yeah.
not much drama, I assume.
It's the opposite. Yeah, exactly. So I'm gonna go into it a bit. So first of all, I've tried to watch the show a couple times before. So it's a Japanese show. So it's all subtitles, and it's all Japanese
And
participants.
Matt is very annoying every time I block the subtitle.
Well, that is true. I wasn't gonna bring that up, but yeah, because I get really into it. So the main reason I've actually been able to finish it all 46 episodes on Netflix, and they're about 30 minutes on average. So that's 23 hours of TV.
Yeah.
Is because I talked about this on a previous show, I think a couple weeks ago, but I've been using our treadmill a lot since we've been unable to run outside.
Yeah,
so
a
I
Christmas
do,
gift.
Exactly. So I've been using I've been using our treadmill to do my runs like 5 days a week or so.
Yeah.
And I usually will get through an episode or two of that on there, and I've just been doing that the last like 4 weeks or so, and I've finally been able to get through all of it. I'm ashamed to say, like, when it comes to like shows that aren't in English, it can be difficult for me to get all the way through a long show, especially if I'm watching it by myself.
Yeah.
We've watched a couple like Korean dramas and things like that together, and that's a little
And Chinese
easier.
dramas as well.
And some Chinese dramas.
Yeah.
But if I'm watching like pretty much any like other foreign TV show that's very long running,
Yeah.
it's hard for me, and this is just like maybe I'm the product of like too much being on my phone and stuff, but it's hard for me to like fully pay attention to like the subtitles the entire time, and like I look down for a second, I look up and I miss something because I can't hear it, right? But because I've been on the treadmill, like I just like have full focus on this show, so I've really been able to kind of like bite into it. Okay, so why is it my favorite reality TV show?
Yeah.
So first of all, like a little bit of maybe context for people who have no idea what Terrace House is. It's a Japanese reality TV show franchise that has 5 series actually. So this is one specific series within those 5 called Boys and Girls in the City. That's like the subheading of it. So I think all versions of the show, I've only watched this one so far, but I'm pretty sure all of them follow the lives of 6 strangers in this house. So a terrace house.
Are they all like in Japan? All the
No.
some
Some of them are not. So there's one called Terrace House Aloha State, which is in Hawaii, and I might watch that one next. I'm not sure
Right.
yet. This one specifically, Boys and Girls in the City, is set in Tokyo.
Okay.
So it's what it sounds like. It's a terrace house, which is basically kind of like a big like kind of like a townhouse, I guess. But it's like much bigger than that. It's like a very like nice. They have like a pool, and like it's a double story, multiple bedrooms. And there's 3 guys and 3 girls that basically just sort of live there. I think the closest comparison I could give for like American viewers, or I guess there's other countries that have it too, would be like Big Brother sort of.
Yeah.
So there's not a goal of the participants of the show. So they're not like playing games. They're not like
getting a prize.
they're not getting a prize. They don't have to outlast anything. Basically, they start the show with 3 guys and 3 girls that sort of all move in on the same day.
So 6 people in total every time.
6 people in total, exactly. Yeah, and
Okay.
always 3 and 3. And they can like still go to their jobs. In fact, like most of them, like they often will take like work trips, and like one of the members will just be out of the house for like a week or something, and they'll come back.
Yeah.
They'll go see like other friends, and they'll go to their jobs, and they'll just sort of live their lives with these strangers.
Yeah.
And one cool thing about it is that they can just sort of like leave whenever they want to. So one of like the kind of the themes of the show is like this turnover rate.
Yeah.
So, for example, with this series, I think it's like 15 or 20 episodes in, something like that. One of the guys just says, "Yeah, I'm done. I need to focus on." I think he's like a college basketball or college baseball player.
Yeah.
And he says, "Okay, I need to focus on this, and I really want to like try and make the pros or whatever, get into a league." and so I'm gonna leave the house so I can focus on that. And he just goes. Like there's no
there's
no like approval process. He just sort of leaves whenever they want.
So once the people like leaves, can he come back?
No, they can't come back. So when they leave, there's someone else lined up of the same gender of the person who left who comes in and fills, and they just sort of someone else moves in.
Okay.
So there's like a really funny process because like after the first 6 and they all kind of like live together for a while, and like at the very beginning it's very weird because none of them know each other.
Yeah.
But after like you start to get in a rhythm of like one person leaves, someone else new comes in. There's a new person coming into a house where 5 people have lived together for a few months or whatever. And it's really funny because there's always like every time someone leaves, I think in total on this series, there was I think 17 total people if you like add up all the people throughout the entire 46 episodes. And so like there's always like a tearful goodbye scene for like the person who leaves, and then like usually later in the same episode they'll do like a sort of like a little preview snippet of whoever the new person will be with like their head not in camera, like talking to their friends about how they're going to join. And then like later, usually at the end of the episode, the rest of the house members, they'll coordinate so like they're all like sitting in the living room and talking or whatever, and then the doorbell rings and they all just like look at each other like, the new person, are they coming in? And then like usually they'll all jump up and like let them in, and then they'll kind of sort of ingratiate themselves with the rest of the group. And so that's just kind of how it goes. So now I talked about how like there's not really like a goal or an end state like stated by like the show itself. So that kind of permeates the entire show, I think. So basically, generally people will come in with like one of two goals. So
they have a goal to
like a personal goal. And it's not like something that like the show has to like approve. It's just like whatever they want to do. So like some of them will, I guess to be fair, some of them will come in and they'll just say, I just want to like have fun and like live in Tokyo for a bit in a nice house.
Oh, nice.
And that happens sometimes.
I would do that.
Outside of that, generally, someone will come in and they have a goal of something with their career. So they want it, like there's this one woman who comes in and like her goal, she's like a fashion designer, and like her goal is to open a hat shop. She wants to like make hats and sell them like under a designer label. And so her time in the house is mostly spent on her journey towards that personal goal.
Right.
So that's usually, it can be that. And then the other main goal is someone who actually wants to come in and find a relationship. So it's generally like mixed between those two.
Yeah.
Which can lead to some interesting things because there's a lot of situations where someone will come in looking for a partner.
Yeah.
And they'll like kind of key in on somebody instantly, but that person is just trying to like get their business going. And so like they'll go on like some awkward dates, and there's a lot of rejections in this show. And it's interesting because one other thing I should say about the show, contrary to like a lot of these sort of reality shows that are just like watching people's lives.
Yeah.
There's no, they never talk to the camera. There's no like confessional period. Like in like Real Housewives, for example.
Yeah.
Where like they'll cut to like them and they're just like talking to the
interview.
Producer in the interview.
Yeah.
That doesn't exist in the show. It's purely just, and there's no like voiceover like during it, and it's very like simply produced.
Do they have like the background music?
No. Well, no, that's not. So they do have
sing music.
They don't have singing. They sometimes have like just background like instrumental music.
They have people watching them.
No, I'll get to that. So that's different. But like when you're actually watching the people who live in the house, you're literally just like watching them live their lives, and it's very like simple. Like you'll watch them like all like sometimes in like an episode, the most like impactful thing or important thing that happens is that someone cooks a meal for the house and they drink together and just chat.
Yeah.
Like that's some of the episodes are like literally like that's the most exciting thing that happens.
Is it? Wow.
Yeah.
So there's no like parties or...
No, not really. Because the other thing about it is like because it is Japanese, I think this plays into it. I mean, I'm not like an expert on Japanese culture, but it's interesting because like they kind of like have to like live within the constraints of like what's expected of them as like a young adult in Japan, I think. There's this whole storyline, actually. I won't spoil who or what or anything, but there's this whole thing about like one of the girls is trying to be like a model. And that's not a spoiler because like half the girls in the show and guys really are like trying to be models because they're all like, they're all like really pretty people.
Okay.
And so like she's trying to like have like a good public image and sort of that like that idol image, like that like kind of pure whatever. Which I have mixed opinions on that, but that is like a fact of a lot of that culture, right? Yeah. But she, she wants to have a relationship with like another guy in the house, and so they actually have to hide it. and like
oh,
and you don't
wow.
and the
Secret relationship.
and like the camera doesn't actually like there's no camera that like follows them around. It's just like static cameras in the house. And so the
okay.
house members, there's a lot of stuff that goes on that like we ever never actually see, and like they'll just like talk about it later. Like there's one scene I remember where like they were up drinking, and there was like some fight earlier in the day about something, and then like they were drinking in one of the rooms, and then the scene just like it just sort of like ends, like nothing really happens, and then the next morning,
Yeah.
two of them wake up and they're just like really like upset and angry, and they talk about a fight that they had that wasn't on camera, like because there was like they can just choose not to be on camera if they don't want to, and then they just resolve it later.
So are you saying they don't have producers follow them around?
Exactly. Yeah.
They
yeah.
don't?
They don't.
That's different.
Yeah.
'Cause a lot of reality, you have producers follow around.
Exactly. Yeah.
Even including, they even have camera in bedroom.
Exactly. It feels like you're just
It's
sort of
not- okay.
observing like real life, like people living their lives,
That's
which is very
interesting.
like it's very like interesting compared
Yeah.
to a lot of like those like very loud and like yelling, and like there's a a camera like following all around the house and stuff.
Yeah, I saw like the producers love the drama, would love them to fight,
They probably do, but
Camera.
I mean, but I think like the idea of the show is like literally they just like live their lives.
Yeah.
And actually, even like the funny thing about that is like even at the last episode, I won't spoil how it ends or anything, but it ends very like just sort of softly, and it's just sort of done. So like there's a little bit of drama like with a couple of the couples like a few episodes before like the very last episode, but that gets resolved pretty quickly, and then like the last episode is literally just them kind of enjoying time together, chatting about their experience, cleaning the house, and then they all kind of have a goodbye, and then the door closed, and then it's done. Like you feel very like like when you eat a meal and you don't eat way too much and you just kind of feel like satisfied. Like that's how the
Yeah.
show made me feel. And like after every episode I felt that way, just sort of like, oh, this is nice.
Right.
And like there's not people like making out. Like if someone like if a couple like shares a kiss on camera, that's like a major milestone for the show. Like
Oh,
that's like a
really?
huge event. Now you hinted at something that I also love about the show that is very unique about it that I don't think I've seen before. So there's I think it's 3 times per episode for the most part. There's this panel that it cuts to in like a studio,
Yeah.
like
yeah.
separate from the house of these. I think they're all like famous comedians or something in Japan. I don't know them, but I think that like they're like all like comics or something. They're like slightly older people, and like they'll cut to them, and they're like literally watching the show. It's like they're watching the show with us.
Yeah,
So they only
yeah.
see what's on camera, and they all like react to what's happening.
Yeah.
And so like, and they'll all, like they have like a fun dynamic too. Like they sort of like, give each other a hard time and stuff, and they'll have different opinions on like, and they'll try to guess like, oh, maybe they'll end up with them, or oh, I can't believe that person said that, or whatever.
Yeah.
And that's sort of like the closest that you get to like the producer of the show is these like Japanese comics kind of like talking about the show like at like intervals during it. That's sort of like the viewer, I guess, like the proxy
Yeah.
for you to watch it.
Yeah, yeah.
Anyway, I've talked way too long about this show. I get
Clearly
so
you
much
loved it.
I get so much joy out of this show.
Yeah.
It's sort of like, do you know what ASMR is?
No.
So it's like, those like audio things where you hear like it's like like a in your right ear and then a in your left ear.
Yeah.
It like gives you chills.
Yeah.
So they call that like I don't know what it stands for, but like it's called ASMR. To me, this is like the visual version of that. It's like soothing.
Soothing.
To watch.
So it's like very soothing background
Yeah.
show for you to watch.
And like when the show ended, I was like still on the treadmill this morning when like the last episode and the credits rolled.
yeah.
And it felt like I had just finished reading a really, really good book that I got attached to all the characters. And
Yeah.
I was like sad when it ended.
And you're wondering like, what's the replacement? What's the next show I can watch?
Yeah. Well, it's probably going to be one of the other Terrace Houses.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
You think the others will be similar as this one?
Hopefully. I think so. I think this is generally regarded as the best one. Oh, I didn't actually say this, but this one was actually recorded back in I think it 2015 to 2016 was like the time that it ran. So this was like pre-COVID and everything.
Yeah. So it's like 7 years ago.
Yeah. There is I think this was the first one available with English subtitles on Netflix. There was a previous series of the show called Boys and Girls Next Door.
Yeah.
In 2012, 2014, I think. So that was the original episode, but that's only available in Japan. I don't think there's like well, at least like not a legal way to get like official subtitles for it. But I think from what I've read, the Boys and Girls in the City series, which is still on Netflix, I think in all countries, is probably the best one. So
Oh yeah, so you've watched the best version of Terrace House.
yeah. Oh, it's just so good. I could really do a whole episode just on like my favorite moments from the show, because there's so many, like just one that stand out and so many like people that stand out. I would just say, even if you don't watch reality shows and even if you don't normally like shows not in English,
Yeah.
just give it a try. Just like watch it for like 5 or 6 episodes. And
So
if,
5-6 episode, it will grow on me.
I think so. Yeah. It's kind of a slow burn, but anyway, yeah.
How long is each episode?
It's about 30 minutes or so.
Oh, so it's like the short and sweet one.
Yeah. It's pretty short. So that's my first thing.
Yeah.
Now that's probably going to be half the episode. Probably have to call this episode like Terrace House.
Terrace House special.
Terrace House, Matt and Yuna on the podcast.
I know.
There we go. Okay. So that's my first thing. Yuna, what is your first thing?
So my first thing is relatively simple. Comparing to Matt's first joyful thing, it's butter garlic prawn.
Oh, I can still taste it.
I know. So why I put this as the joyful thing is I made this dish today, first time, in the oven. We called butter garlic king prawn, and the reason like it makes me joyful because it's first time I follow the recipe, and it's super tasty. Both Matt and I love it so much. And the reason to inspire me making this dish is because we had our Chocho-san restaurant butter king prawn last week. Follow the recipe from the restaurant, and it's really simple, but we just love that prawn dish so much. And then I was Googling around to see if I can recreate similar dish, and in the end I can, which makes me really happy. And I feel like this is a new dish I learned probably. I have to say, during lockdown, my cooking skills has improved a lot.
Yeah, I was gonna say that. Yuna. So there was a time, not super. I mean, like a year or two ago, maybe, where like we tried to do one of those those boxes where they like send you like the Hello Fresh Marley Spoon kind of thing. I think Blue Apron is the US one. And when I was doing that, like you didn't even want to come in the kitchen with me at all.
No.
This is like worlds different from how you used to be.
Yeah, but the thing is, like, I used to cook by myself when I lived by myself, right?
Yeah.
But I think things like lockdown, and obviously we spend lots of time at home, and I spend a lot of time just in those cooking recipe apps, and I discovered a new world. So Matt would know I started baking, which I really baked before. I now I can make super yummy dates walnut candy, which could be my signature.
It's been a while since you made that.
I know, and I made Matt's Valentine Nama chocolate.
Oh, you did? Yeah, you made that
remember?
chocolate at home. That was so good. Yeah.
And I made very fluffy Japanese cheesecake. Remember?
That one's good.
Yeah. And then I cook lots of new dish as well from the recipe. And recently, one of Matt's favorites and my favorite noodle dish is called shallow oil noodle dish. It is
It sounds nicer in Chinese. The translation doesn't.
Okay, so it's in Chinese called 葱油面, but it's so simple, so tasty, and I think both Matt and agree. Like the version we have is much better than the one we had in the restaurant, and so good. So, the point I'm making is because of the lockdown, we got the chance to try lots of new recipes, and I'm extremely happy for the one I tried today. And after I cook this butter garlic prawn, I instantly know what I can do better next time. I may add a little bit honey on that.
Oh yeah, that would be good with honey actually.
Yeah,
a little bit of sweet. Yeah.
Yeah, and you know, I'm not sure if you guys have the feeling. It's like for me, if I can create a dish that I can entertain my guests or my family in the future, that's awesome, right? Yeah, and it looks very pretty on camera as well. And you know, for me,
which is very important.
It's really important. The dish, it's photogenic. Yeah. So that's the first thing I feel joyful about. So, Matt, what's your second thing?
So I promise my second thing is short because I took up so much of the episode with my first thing.
I know.
So my second thing is the Sunset Squad.
Oh,
And
Sunset
so
Squad.
Yuna knows what I'm talking about. I'm going to explain for our listeners. So outside our back window, well, our balcony window,
Oh, balcony, yeah.
our balcony window, there's this big sort of hill that rises up, like not that far away. So like one of the reasons that we picked that we like where we're living is that there is a kind of a nature reserve protected area. So basically they can't build on top of it. So we have this like at least half of our view is pretty much always going to be like green. There's like a bunch of trees and just protected area. And there's this big hill that rises up. There's actually two, but one of them is closer to us. And there's like this little staircase you can walk up. It's very steep and you have to walk up it. Like it's not, you can't like bike up it or anything.
Yeah.
And we face the west as well. So it's where the sun sets. And since we've been in lockdown, I think it's been since we've been in lockdown because I don't remember seeing this before.
I know.
But there's this group of people, and I don't know if it's the same people every time because like we can see them from our balcony, but like it's far enough away where we can't make out.
We can't really identify who's who, but we know they're like a group of people. Of course, hopefully social distancing each other.
And it's probably good that we can't make out because if we could make out their faces, they could probably see to our window.
I know. Oh
so
yeah,
I don't think either are true. Luckily,
yeah.
But so I don't know if it's the same people every time, but like clockwork, every single night lately because the weather's starting to warm up a bit here as we go into spring and summer in Australia. But we see people go up there in like these big like groups. Well, I don't know if it's big.
No groups like by two.
Well, 2 by 2, but it's a lot of people. Like
it's a lot of
decent.
people.
It's like at least like I think it's usually at least a dozen people, but like separated out. Into
I
pairs.
think at least a dozen people every day around like 5:30.
I mean, around when the sun starts
around
to
when
set.
we finish work, right?
Yeah. So like when we're kind of winding down from our work since we're both working from home still.
Yeah.
And we'll look outside as like the sun starts to set, and unless it's like a rainy day, which it hasn't really been here at all lately, we'll see those people come up and. I don't remember which of us coined the expression, but one of us will always say, "Oh, the Sunset Squad's out."
Yeah.
And it's just like a very small thing. Like I mean, the people in Sydney and New South Wales in general, as you know, our listeners know by now, have had a rough go of it just because of all the lockdowns and like we're not allowed to go like more than 5Ks from where we live, and we're supposed to stay home, and shops have been closed for the most part unless it's essential, and you know, et cetera, et cetera. And it's been like that for like it's going to be almost 3 months soon, I think, right?
Yeah,
like
it's a very long
12
time.
weeks or more. And so it kind of, I don't know, warms my heart a bit that like people are, you know, making use of our own backyard a little bit and trying to like find their own little joys. Like I can imagine just like bottling up all of the joy everyone gets every evening going up there and watching the sunset from that hill. And it just makes me so happy to like see them. I mean, I'm lucky and I'm very happy that we can view it from our own balcony, which is nice.
Yeah.
But even so, like a lot of people don't have that luxury just because of the way they're building face or whatever. And so, you know, they go up there and from what I can tell, they're still following the rules and like, you know, they're not like, it's not like a party up there or anything. It's just people go up when sunset and then when the sun finishes setting, we'll see them all kind of slowly come back down the stairs. And it's very nice.
It's just really nice to see people taking time out of their life and just to appreciate the nature, the beauty around them in their own backyard, which is great.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's sweet to see people are willing to walk up the big steep hill.
Yeah, because it is pretty steep.
It's very
like, and we
steep.
See like I've seen like older people.
It's a very good exercise.
Actually, with that hill too, like pretty much from the time I get up, like around like 6 a.m. or so, from the time it gets dark, like I see people going up and down that, which I didn't used to before lockdown. So people trying to get their exercise any way they can, which is good.
I think like since lockdown, people just appreciate the environment or the area they live in more. They start to explore more things they used not to. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So that's my second thing. # Sunset Squad. Hey, you. Yeah, you, the person consuming our joy. Thank you for listening. We appreciate it. One hope we have with our 3 things is to spread little bits of joy to everyone who listens, and not just from us. If you have something joyful in your life that you'd like to share, we'd love to highlight it on the show. You can send it to us at our3things.com/contact or email us directly at our3things.podcast@gmail.com. And if you're enjoying our happy ramblings, we'd really appreciate a rating and review on Apple Podcasts. It only takes a minute, and hearing the feedback means the world to us and helps spread the joy to even more people. All right, now, back to the things. Yuna, what is your second thing?
So my second thing, Matt has did a pre-spoiler on that. It's back to the nerdy corner again.
Back to the nerd corner.
Back to the nerd corner. So last Friday, I have finished my first ever SQL table with more than 200 codes in that. So for those you don't know,
200 lines of code.
200 lines of codes. So for those you don't know, it's SQL is a query language to the data warehouse, and
Nerd stuff.
For
those of you who still don't know what she's saying, it's just nerd stuff.
That's fine. It's all right. But the thing why I was so excited is Matt knows about this. I think even like probably a couple weeks ago, I'm still, or even months ago, I'm still learning what is SQL, what is the query language, and how to write simple code. And a month later, I finished my first piece of work with 200 lines of code. That's pretty impressive. Yay. I'm really, really happy. I just feel like I can't believe I can start on learning new things and apply the knowledge I learned online from my colleagues into the work from scratch. And like for me, it's exciting because I switched my career path from finance, accounting, to coding world.
Yeah.
And basically I have learned everything from scratch. And I'm just really excited. I'm finally able to do that. And that's just really, I feel joyful and feel like I accomplished something great. And this will give me courage to learn more things and how to code better. And I'm excited to see what more I can do.
Yeah, it's a really cool milestone to have. Like I still remember like the first couple times I did that. For me, like back in uni, learning to program and all that, and seeing like working really hard on something and then looking back at it and seeing like I have like look at all of this stuff that only came from me and does this thing, something useful, and it's all from like my fingers. It's a great feeling.
And the things like Matt, I told Matt when I finished that, and he's asking me saying, would you understand what you wrote 3 weeks ago? Mm-hmm. And I said, no, I wouldn't.
Way, yeah. Zero chance.
So that's like, say, after 3 weeks, I'm able to write this and understand it. And you know, when you do coding, sometimes it's really frustrated when you run into errors. So you have to debug. You have different error messages. I remember before I used to need to Google a lot to say what's happening, why it's doing this. But now things is like 200 lines of code. So I'm familiar with the error message now. So sometimes it's really stupid. And if you code before, you know the formatting is gonna drive you crazy. Say sometimes you just miss bracket. Sometimes you just miss a comma, and sometimes you miss your semicolon, right? So, and once you miss those little simple things, your entire code just corrupt. Yeah. So I'm really excited. I'm successfully finished a full piece of code and be able to create a full table filled with 2,400 lines, row of data, in my own little data warehouse. I'm very excited.
It's so cool.
Yeah.
Happy for you. Yeah.
Thank you. And do you know what's more exciting?
Oh.
Since I write this code, that means everything's automated. So whenever they have new data coming in, everything just automatically transformed.
Oh yeah.
Into a form that people can use. So I'm really excited I did something that it's going to benefit the people in the future.
Longer term, yeah.
Yeah, longer terms. And the other thing I'm proud of is when I'm writing the code, I left a lot of comments to explain why I'm doing this way.
Right.
I hope anyone pick up my work, they would benefit that too. Probably
Now, from a programmer's perspective, that's probably actually the most important thing that you did.
Yeah.
is leaving good comments.
Yeah, because I know like people are saying it's in when you're writing code, the lines like is not expensive. The expensive thing is your brain. It's your brain power, because you will thank yourself one day in the future when you look back, and you have clearly explained your intention for the important code there, and that will save a lot of brain power.
Now you're thinking like a programmer.
I know.
What's the most efficient way to be as lazy as possible?
Yes, exactly. I'm looking out for the future. So that's my second thing, my nerd corner. So Matt, what's your last thing?
So my last thing today is I'm not the first person to react to this thing because it kind of went viral. But I don't know that you have probably seen it. So I'm going to give a little bit of context here. So my third thing is basically the video put out by Nick Jr. from Steve from Blue's Clues.
I have no idea.
Yeah, so Yuna probably will have no idea. I guarantee that there'll be people who listen to this who know exactly what I'm talking about because this went super viral.
Okay.
But I will give a little bit of context before I go into specifically what this is. So
yeah.
Just for Yuna or anyone else who may not know, maybe people in Australia might not know this. I'm not sure if it aired here or not. Blue's Clues was a children's show that I don't know if I think it might actually still be on with a different host. I'm not 100% sure, but it started in 1996. Basically, like the concept of it is that it's all like a cartoon kind of like animated looking world, except for one one human like real person host, not host, like main character of it.
Yeah.
And so this guy in the original run, it was a guy whose name was Steve.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna show you him in a second,
Uh-huh.
But he basically solved like mysteries with this little cartoon dog named Blue, and it was like just little like cartoon blue dog. And so like they would go around and like there was like other characters that like were in this like cartoon house. So like they would talk to like Mr. Salt and Mrs. Pepper were like the salt and pepper shakers, or like the I think the mailbox was a character, and like they would like deliver mail, and he would sing little songs about it. And it was just like it was a kid's show like for like little kids.
Okay, it's for little kids, right?
Yeah,
makes sense.
And so this aired from 1996 and onward. So the original guy who was the human in it, Steve.
Yeah.
So he was in from the beginning up until I believe 2002, I want to say.
Yeah.
At which point he basically left the show very like suddenly and abruptly.
Right.
And they brought in like another person, this guy named Joe, and I don't know if he's still there, if it's like someone else. I mean, by that point I wasn't not watching it anymore.
Yeah.
But I have very strong memories of watching this show. Actually,
when you were a kid?
Well, so when I was a kid, because this was like late 90s. So I was actually.
Right.
I have memories very like strong, like those memories that are like sort of crystallized images in your head, right?
Yeah.
I have these memories with my little sister, because she was a few years younger than I am. So probably she maybe got more out of it than I did. I don't know.
Yeah.
But it was a guilty pleasure for me too at that age.
Uh-huh.
But we would sit at home, especially like during like summer breaks from school.
Yeah.
And like do chores around the house and whatnot, and just have like this Nick Jr., which was like the kids like channel.
Uh-huh.
So they had like this show and like a whole bunch of others. But for some reason I remember watching this show like while we were folding towels together. Like that was one of our chores, like doing laundry and like having like the Blue's Clues on in the background. It's just like it's a very like just like stuck in my brain, like probably going to be like on my deathbed thinking about this among other things.
Oh really?
So that's the context of what this is.
Yeah.
So just this last week, let me look up the actual date that this happened. So it was September 8th. So 3 days ago from when we're recording this.
Yeah.
The guy who played Steve came back and did it just out of nowhere and did this like 2-minute video in sort of the style. So like I'm going to show you it. It's like the background is like the original background of the show.
Yeah.
He's wearing like the same clothes he wore however many years ago. But he's this guy like in his 40s now, so it's kind of silly.
Okay.
And he gives this message, and it's just a 2-minute long video, and he gives this message basically to all the people who would have watched it when he was on it.
Okay.
So like people my age, so like millennial, I guess that age group.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna actually put the audio in the podcast now. So if you've already listened to it, you can probably skip ahead about 2 minutes from when it starts because it's pretty short. But I'm going to put the whole thing in there because it's pretty short, and I think it's worth hearing it again.
Okay.
So here it is.
Hi. You got a second? Okay. You remember how when we were younger we used to run around and hang out with Blue and find clues and talk to Mr. Salt and freak out about the mail and do all the fun stuff? And then one day I was like, oh hey, guess what? Big news. I'm leaving. This is my brother Joe. He's your new best friend. And then I got on a bus and I left. And we didn't see each other for like a really long time. Can we just talk about that? Great. Because I realized that was kind of abrupt. I just kind of got up and went to college. And that was really challenging, by the way, but great because I got to use my mind and take a step at a time. And now I literally am doing many of the things that I wanted to do. And then look at you and look at all you have done and all you have accomplished in all that time. And it's just so amazing, right? I mean, we started out with clues and now it's what? Student loans and jobs and families. And some of it has been kind of hard. You know? I know you know. And I wanted to tell you that I really couldn't have done all of that without your help. And in fact, all the help that you helped me with when we were younger is still helping me today, right now. And that's super cool. I guess I just wanted to say that after all these years, I never forgot you, ever. And I'm super glad we're still friends. Thanks for listening. You look great, by the way. Whatever it is you're doing, it's working.
But he must collaborate with the show, right?
It must be because like this video is from the official Twitter for Nick Jr. as well.
Yeah. That makes sense. And
so,
he's talking to his fans.
Yeah,
he's talking to Blue.
So what? Maybe one thing I didn't quite explain about the show, if you haven't watched it, in the show, like the idea with a lot of these kid shows is the host will like ask a question to the camera, and the idea is like if you're a kid, you like answer back because it's like teaches you sort of like thing. So he's using that model, like he's talking to you, to the viewer.
Nice.
So I don't think I know I'm not the first one to react to this. There's heaps of articles about this, and like kind of what it means. So like what I'm saying is not groundbreaking by any means, but it's just like my personal, maybe overlaps with a lot of other people. But like, I don't know. When I first watched that, because I saw a bunch of people posting it, and I was like, what is that? I don't know. And I finally clicked on it, and I just watched it, and I was just sort of like.
Crying?
I almost got a little teary. Yeah. Like I don't normally like, I'm not like a crier generally, but this one actually got me emotional just because I really feel like he's speaking directly to my generation.
Yeah.
And with
feel that.
Talking about like, he even brings up things like student loans, which like I'm fortunate enough that I was able to pay those off fairly quickly, but like difficulties with like jobs and various relationships obviously they led me to the right one.
Okay.
but just talking about like how long it's been, because like I haven't thought about the show Blue's Clues and this guy Steve obviously since I like was 10 years old or whatever it was last time I watched it, and it does feel in a very strange way like reconnecting with an old friend in a weird way.
Yeah. I understand what you say.
Like actually it's kind of on theme for the episode because like I had someone I knew in middle school also reach out, for our show. So shout out to both Steve and Kevin.
Yeah.
For this. But no, I got a kick out of that, and it's really nice to see, and like I kind of assumed that he like was just like pieced out from this show forever and like didn't want to be associated with it anymore.
Yeah.
But seeing this pop up again was a very joyful little thing.
So why he left the show before?
Well, so I think there's a lot of theories about it. I think legitimately he was just like moving on to something else.
Okay, and like someone else is taking his role.
Yeah, so like the next episode, like someone else, this guy Joe came in, that he mentioned in the video as well.
His brother. That's what he's
Well,
saying.
I mean the character, not his real brother, the character's
okay,
brother. I think.
Right,
Yeah,
right.
yeah.
I see.
So
Yeah, I understand because this is part of your childhood, right? It's some show important. Like I got teary to watch a character from my childhood show up on the TV and still performing the same thing. It's like wow.
yeah.
Yeah.
Those things make you reflect on like really legitimately like where you've come, I think, and how you got to where you are now.
And what happened in the past 10 years, 20 years in your life and where you get now. Yeah. I completely can relate.
Yeah.
But I'm not familiar with the show.
No.
But I know your feeling. I know that feeling.
So that's my third thing. Shout out to Steve. Yuna, what is your last thing?
So my last thing is actually a very sweet gesture from my company. I'm not sure if everyone knows, but in Australia, last Thursday, it's Are You OK Day.
So I think actually there is
Do you have that in the US?
So I don't think it's called that, but there is like a global suicide prevention day.
Yeah.
That's the Are You OK is like an organization specifically about that. Yeah.
Yeah. So since it's Are You OK Day and week, right? So I think in Australia, lots of corporation and the entire country is very focused on mental health, and especially during this, again, difficult time, lockdown. So the company decided the day before, like the week before, not the week, but just a couple of days before, and to get, especially my division, give everyone a half day off, mental wellness day off.
That's great.
On Friday. So we can have 2.5 days long weekend. As well, on top of that, they give us a $25 Uber Eats voucher so we can order whatever we want to eat. So that's very sweet.
Yeah.
And I know it's very small and it's only half day and $25, but I just feel like it's sometimes as a company, you don't need to do too much to make your employee happy. And a small gesture and to shows you how you care will mean a lot to your employees. And I feel like the company around the world should do the same thing, right? Because I know, Matt, for your company, you have like 2 mental wellness day.
Well, yeah. So my company during the last like the whole pandemic period, early 2020 until now, like they've given us these sort of random little what they call global like well-being days. Everyone across the globe because I work at a global company gets like the same day off basically. And they've been kind of sprinkled in, especially in places where there's not like normally a holiday, to kind of regroup and like they tell us specifically, you know, like stay away from electronics basically. Really take advantage of that. So
and do you know what's nice about this company-wide days off, right? That means while you're off, there will be no more emails.
That's right.
No more messages.
That's right.
For you to check.
It's a beautiful
Monday
thing.
when come back.
It's a beautiful
that's
thing.
a beautiful thing. So I recommend if anyone has these opportunities from their own company, take it because it's great. Because taking that day or half day off doesn't mean when you come back you would have plenty of emails you have to catch up because you take a day off, like when you take on annual leave, right?
Can I say something actually?
Yeah.
This is a little off topic, but this brought it to mind. Maybe I'm in the minority, but I actually like if I take like my own time off, like where it's just me, or like take even like a week off sometimes, like for like a traveling, coming back and like having all those emails. I actually really like having all those emails.
Oh, why?
To go through. Because I know what that Monday is going to be. Like it's going to be going through emails, and you can use it as like a shield.
Shield of doing the real work.
For like any real work. Isn't that awesome?
Yeah, but then you have to read through like hundreds of emails when you go finish your holiday.
The more the better.
The more the better.
The more the better. That's
okay.
The bigger the shield is.
Okay.
Like every arrow that comes in, like, oh, there's a client question. Oh, there's some task you have to do. I still have 100 emails unread.
Oh,
sorry,
okay.
I'll get back to you.
Right. Okay. That's
I think a lot of people secretly feel this way. I'm just like the first one bold enough to say it.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because I feel like for me, if I have 100 emails, I probably have to personally resolve those.
That's true.
Yeah. So I prefer company-wide shutdown. So I'm really looking forward to the next shutdown period, Christmas. The entire company is going to be 10 days shutdown, which is great. Yeah.
Awesome.
So that's my third thing to makes me feel joyful. And another message I want to say is it's important to pause. Just even take a half day off just to stop and to really focus on your mental wellness. So that's my last thing.
Awesome. Well, that is a fine place to end it, I think, on that positive note, Yuna. I think this is going to end up being a long one.
Because of Terrace House?
Maybe because of my love for a non-trashy reality TV show
And your top 10 TV show.
and one of my top 10 TV shows.
Yes.
I don't know if I'd put it. Maybe that's a very strong statement I said, isn't it?
No, it's not. It's fine. You made it. It's out in the world. So
Everyone just will go watch Terrace House, Boys and Girls in the City.
I know, right? Did you get any commission from them? Netflix?
No ads. We still don't have any ads, unfortunately.
It's just purely out of love.
Look, you know how like when you really love something, you just like want to share everything about it to everyone.
I know.
I rarely feel that way about this show. I want everyone to go watch it.
Okay, go watch
Seriously.
it.
Go watch Terrace House, Boys and Girls in the City.
Yeah.
Okay, well, Yuna, I think that's a good place to end it for today.
Yeah, I agree.
So thank you everyone for listening. Thanks again to the listener mail from our buddy Kevin, friend of the show. I think I can say that now. If you would like to write into us with any joyful things that you're experiencing, you can always reach out at r3things.com/contact or r3things.podcast@gmail.com. And we appreciate every listen out there, and all of you are amazing, beautiful people.
Yeah, I agree.
And with that, I think we can wrap it up.
Yeah, definitely.
But before we go,
remember, our fourth thing
is you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
手中雕刻神话，刀锋千转，蜿蜒成花。生命中的他，斜桥碰碰出人家。穿过绕过发梢红衫，刺绣灯塔，眉目刚的那座庄稼。红人留下枕上白发，背着。